doing, Ben is talking, that you would be our
Timekeeper?
timekeeper.
I can do that.
Randy said Chris can.
Oh,
But I said, what, no, I said, why not have you, you'll be up here in the front, so people will be able to see that better.
sure thing, yeah.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, definitely.
I knew you would.
No problem at all. Keep moving.
If we could bring the planning commission meeting to order, could we please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could we please get the roll call?
Scott Hansen. Ben Terrell.
Here.
Lisa Lewitsky. Ray Whitaker.
Here.
Ed Kemp.
Here.
Tim Catron.
Here.
Zachary Dillinger.
Here.
Frank Holmes.
Here.
Brian Ross.
Here. Thank you. Have the proper notices been posted and sent?
Yes.
Thank you. What are your wishes for the agenda this evening?
Move the agenda. Support.
We have a motion support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Next, we'll have the next portion of our agenda is public comments. This is anybody that would like to speak on anything not to do with the agenda this evening. We'll address public comments regarding the public hearing on the master plan at that time. Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the Eaton County Master Plan. We will be timing everyone's comments. They're gonna be limited to 5 minutes per person. So, I don't know if anybody will get that long, but just so you know, Ben will be timing that, and he'll kind of be letting you and I both know that you're approaching 5 minutes. So if you're talking 4 minutes comes along, you'll probably get a sign just saying it's coming up. And this isn't really a question and answer session. This is more just letting us know what your thoughts are. So if you ask us questions, you probably will not get answers unless we answer them in our discussion afterwards. And if we do want that input, we may ask for it during our deliberation, but don't expect answers if, we just really would like your comments on it. So anybody now that would like to,
Would you like a staff report?
oh, yeah, we can do that.
Oh, okay.
Then we'll get to the public comments on that.
In front of the Planning Commission is the 2024-2044 proposed draft master plan. This has been a document that the Planning Commission has been working on since 2021. The changes that were made through the 63-day review were update the county logo with the master plan to the new Eaton County logo. So you'll notice that the logo has changed within the document. The City of Eaton Rapids and City of Village of Bellevue both gave minor clerical edits pertaining to their community data. They were the only two communities under Eaton County Planning and Zoning which chose to comment on the draft plan. Additionally, sheet 8 through 7 TIP projects were coordinated with Jim Coing, who is the Senior Transportation Planning Manager from Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, to verify and update the information shown on sheet 8 through 7, descripting the county's upcoming TIP projects. Throughout the document, there were also some grammatical errors that were corrected. In front of the Planning Commission, so in the actual document, per the conversation with all of the townships, you will see the Eaton and Carmel township maps in the full master plan do show the property to the north of I-69 as commercial. The two loose maps that are included will show the Eaton and Carmel township maps with the property to the north of I-69 as industrial. if and when a motion is made, the specific maps do need to be included in that motion so that when staff sends it on to Public Works and Planning and the Board of Commissioners, we're sending the correct documents along. Any questions so far? I do have 4 public comments to read into record that I received. The first one, I did not have a chance to print, so bear with me. This is regarding the I-69 property. For what it's worth, I'm 100% against the I-69 property turning into anything except electric vehicle-related production or green energy production. I can't make the meeting in person, but wanted to make sure I send a message with my kids in mind. The next one is from Christina Fox. Hello. While I hope to be present at tonight's meeting, I am submitted this letter for the board. It has come to my attention that there is a proposal to change a piece of property near Cochrane Road 5 Point area from commercial to industrial. As a property owner near the parcels in question, I am deeply concerned for several reasons. First and foremost is the fact that we don't know what type of industry will be associated with this property if it were to change to industrial. As someone who just lived through the construction on the highway, the noise level was constant and disturbing to our rural way of life. I am sure with an industrial facility nearby, that would be the same. Not knowing what industry they plan to put there is also concerning. I do not want to live where there is a marijuana facility right down the road. Not everyone wants to smell that smell all the time or deal with the people who might work there driving where my family lives and drives daily. If it's a solar farm, then the land will be useless for when they are done with their farm. This is my thought since they had called our house and wanted to lease our property for this purpose. This will cause disruption in hunting and render future ground useless for food production, all to try and gather energy in a very cloudy state. In any industry sitting, the amount of traffic produced by it will be a problem for an already congested area. The corner near 5 Point and Cochrane has become very dangerous to navigate, and adding traffic will not help. Not to mention the roads are in need of repair and can't handle the extra traffic. No amount of tax revenue will offset the devastation to the area that this proposal will inflict on the surrounding property values, traffic issues, and change to the way of life most seek by moving out of the rural area. I urge you to vote no on the proposed changes and keep our rural areas rural. And again, that was from Miss Christina Fox. Miss Stephanie King says, I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, but would like to voice my opinion opposing to change the 182 acres of farmland to industrial use. Doesn't Charlotte already have an industrial park near Packard Highway? My husband and I work hard to saved money for years to purchase property and raise our family in the country. I feel this will be tainted with the increased traffic, noise, and light pollution, as well as the possible air and water pollution. I'm concerned for our local orchards that have not only provided us with affordable local produce, but has also increased the bee population. I'm concerned for my garden that feeds my growing children as well as my neighbors' gardens. In a world where farmland is dwindling and food shortages are a real concern, does Charlotte really need to take away another 182 acres? Thank you for taking the time to read my concerns. This is from Allison and Nicholas Bark. To the Eaton County Planning Commission, it has come to our attention that the new owners of the 182 acres located just north of the Cochrane Road exit are requesting to change the city planning to include industrial to their zoning capabilities. We own about 60 acres just south of this at 19 East 5 Point, and we have heavy concerns in allowing 182 acres of current farmland to become potential industrial. One, this will break up a series of agricultural and commercial properties with putting a large industrial area in the middle. Two, many industrial properties contribute an overwhelming amount of noise, air, water, and light pollution that can greatly affect not only residents but crops being grown in the area. Three, how is this keeping with the continuity of the area? The surrounding area is all agricultural, light commercial buildings, and residential. Four, how will this affect the current drain tile and surrounding properties? 5, once approved as industrial, there's a lot less oversight from the board as to what can be put there, and all surrounding neighbors and community will be able to have a say in all surrounding neighbors, community will be able to have a say in what it becomes. In closing, this is not something we wish to have in the great farming area of Charlotte area, especially in such a close proximity to our fruit farm and neighbors' homes. Thank you for hearing our voices and concerns. Alice and Nicholas Bark. And that's all I have.
Any questions of staff? Okay, this is the public portion. If someone would like to come up and state their name and address for us, you can come right up to the podium, please.
Hello. First, thanks for letting me speak tonight and having this meeting. I'm Rick Dykstra. I live at the northwest corner of Cochrane and Broadway, and this concerns me greatly. First of all, we have the Combs Industrial Park, and there's plenty of room there. We don't have water, sewage, natural gas, three-phase power. So to develop this into an industrial park is ridiculous, and it does nothing but destroy our property values. Now, certainly it might give some mild boost to property tax revenue, but Carmel Township, where I live, has traditionally been mostly residential and agricultural, and that's why I live there, not because I want to live next to an industrial park. I've spent my life designing automation control systems for manufacturing, and I spent a lot of time in factories. The last thing I want to do is come home and have a factory across the street from me. So anyhow, I'm absolutely and strongly against this, and I hope you take that in mind. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric DeYoung. I'm with Naderveld. We are a land planning, engineering, and surveying firm out of Grand Rapids, and I'm here to represent the family that owns approximately 235 acres on Cochrane Road, just north of I-69. Tonight, you're considering a draft master plan, and it includes 2 future land use maps. We are asking you tonight to adopt the future land use map, the loose map, that provides an industrial future land use designation for the subject properties. Again, in the area of just north of I-69, the draft designates it for general business use. This designation already is in place in the previous draft, in the previous master plan, designates a preference for large-scale regional commercial uses, including automobile-related services, restaurants, large shopping centers, hotels. That is what's currently imagined for this area. It appears that this draft future land use map was unchanged from 2011, and the world has changed in that time, in the last 23 years. This type of use seems incompatible. The commercial use seems incompatible with the surrounding agricultural area. An industrial designation would be a far more compatible, a better neighbor, and aligns better with the needs and the goals of the community. I want to address a couple of things that came up in our conversation with community leaders. First of all, whether the site is commercial, as currently imagined, or industrial, the city of Charlotte has their door open to partnering on water and sewer availability. Second, whether the site is commercial or it is industrial, if utilities are extended, no resident would be forced to shift from a serviceable well and septic to public utilities. Finally, whether commercial, as currently imagined, or industrial, proper stormwater management practices are required as part of site plan review, and these stormwater management practices would need to be adopted to detain stormwater and prevent flooding. Again, the thing we're considering tonight is only a future land use. There'd still be many steps before any development, including site plan review, building permits, and other regulations. We understand that the surrounding communities have strong roots in agriculture, and agricultural preservation is of high importance. Placing hotels, big box stores, drive-through restaurants next to farmland with the associated dust and noise and odors seems out of step with an otherwise strong master plan. Putting shoppers and guests next to farming activity lends itself to conflict. Truck stops, hotels, restaurants, the typical highway interchange uses do not preserve the fabric of small towns. Instead, an industrial designation in the area would serve to support rather than detract from an existing historic downtown Charlotte and preventing commercial sprawl away from it. While industrial sites do accommodate trucks, semi-trucks, the site is perfectly located next to I-69, and the amount of congestion, traffic, and urban sprawl would be significantly reduced in contrast to the currently imagined commercial future land use designation. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, LEAP, and other economic agencies around Michigan are constantly getting requests from companies who desire to locate and manufacture here but cannot readily find available land. Contiguous sites of over 100 acres are especially in demand. There is little demand for office buildings in large shopping centers. The pandemic has shifted the needs of the community, and we need to respond with a shifting future land use map.
There, just to give you a heads up.
Thank you. The market is demonstrating need for light industrial type uses. Modern industrial sites will provide be much better neighbors in the area and will serve as an economic engine for the county for years to come, while offering a huge tax base with low demand on public services. The jobs modern manufacturing brings are solid, high-paying career opportunities in contrast to the types of jobs that come with strip malls, big box retail, allowing the kids and grandkids of Eaton County to remain part of the community in the future. Tonight, we ask the Planning Commission to adopt the future land use map that designates the subject areas as industrial. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak at this time?
Yes, I would. Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Marks, Sunfield Township. Page 1212 of the master plan, future land use, I see there's some commercial property over on Hager Road. There's a small lake there with a private drive. Looks like future use is red for a commercial. It's on a dirt road. I just kind of wondering about that. It's a rather rural area. It's also showing commercial on the east side of Sabi Lake. Again, it's kind of a small map. It's not real good to see. I can't really see it really well on my phone. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm just wondering if that's a typo or whatever. I think that's not a good use, future use of that area. Also, I was looking at the 2011, the prior master plan, and I hadn't got time to get there today. You're showing, I was looking at Sunfield Township again, and I've been to a couple of zoning committee meetings, and we've talked about dual zone properties. There's a property on Sabi Lake that is dual zoned, and there's a small portion of that property, I believe it's 40-acre plot, that is dual zoned. The majority of that property is limited ag, but it shows on the map from 2011 that it's, because you can see it a lot better, and also, and I believe it's in this one too, the 2024, that it's showing that it's residential 1. Well, it's dual zoned. I think it should show what it is. And that parcel is limited ag. That section of the parcel, because we have a dual zone property. And if we're looking at this, and this is the Bible of the master plan of Eaton County, let's be a little more accurate. And I believe that's the case. And I don't have the page number for that. I believe it's in the section 12 or 13, something like that. So I'm a little concerned about the commercial going forward around off Hager Road. That's on page 12. 12 over in Sunfield Township. You see it over there, kind of midway over on the left. And then also about delineating what the properties are. If it's dual zone, let's show the zoning of what the properties are. So there's no confusion going forward. Oh, that was R1. No, it's not R1. It's limited ag. We've had that discussion. So if this is what we're looking at, let's, so everybody here and pulls this up online is looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Fair? Thank you.
If I may apologize, the maps were not exactly printed correctly, so I am trying to pull it up so that when you have discussion, I have the correct maps for you to look at.
Anyone else like to? Please come on up and state your name and address for us.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Greg Shaver. I live at 933 West Broadway Highway. I guess my biggest concern would be to me is what the DNR and our water, where it's going to go. Right now, we have problems with the brown drain, but this is a 2-mile wide country section. And in the back, there's all kinds of waterfowl, all kinds of creeks. There's a lake behind Scott, Mud Lake. There's many things that go on with nature. There are also, I am concerned about, obviously, the different environmental pollutions we're going to get, which is noise, light, but most of all, I'm concerned about where this water's going to go. Because everything goes in through a waterway to Battle Creek River, then goes in through the Kalamazoo. All of that roof line, if it's industrial, or all that parking has got to go. The water's got to go somewheres. And then along with that, I'm also coupling in with all the problems we have on 5 Point Highway. Because 5 Point Highway floods several times a year. And when that flooding takes place, it's shifting traffic every place else. But the fact is, they have got it pretty well fixed. Every now and then, it doesn't flood as often, but every now and then it still does. Alls we're going to do is put more water at it. And that's been a problem, but it's going into the watershed from one small drain to another creek, to a pond, to the Battle Creek River, to a larger river, and then out into Lake Michigan. But I think we need to think long and hard about an industrial zoning on this property. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this time? If you come up and state your name and address for us.
Thank you for having this opportunity to address you. My name is Mark Emmert. My property address is 911 West Broadway Highway. Spent quite a bit of time reviewing the master plan. And it would seem to me that after reviewing the master plan, changing the designation on that property to industrial would be counter to the plan and to the goals of the plan. It appears to me that the goals of the plan were basically derived to drive some additional diversity in housing and additional housing stock, with a concern with the existing potential developments that are going on within the county and a little bit of outside the county. That was one of the major goals, one of the major concerns that shows up in this plan. Another one is the preservation of agricultural land within the county. That's another goal that's there. And this would be contradictory to that goal, to designate this land for industrial purposes. So in several instances here where you look at the survey of the people within the county that provided survey results, they discussed the open spaces, the agricultural feeling within the county, and how that benefited their lifestyle. They said their lifestyles were good to excellent because of these things. They moved to the county, to these areas because of that. So just from looking at the plan itself, it looks like there's several items here that would be contradictory were you to approve the change in the master plan. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Ben LeBlanc. I live at 68 West Broadway. My wife and I bought this house 7 years ago after consideration of many other communities in the surrounding area. We ultimately settled on the south side of Charlotte due to the rural nature and peacefulness of it. We soon discovered after moving into this house, a house with 5 acres, that we had, I'd say, major drainage issues in the area. Throughout the last 7 years, attempts to rectify this have been unsuccessful for us as property owners. We continue to have stormwater backups regularly. I think it is no secret the clay soil that we have in the area. Inevitably, whatever is planned by Netterveld and the developers of this property will still have issues. These issues will not be addressed. I understand there is still space in the Combs Industrial Park on the north side of town. I think that this feels like the county is pulling the rug out from under property owners of the area. It's called a master plan for a reason. It's the plan that we stick to. And to change it on a whim because a new developer bought this property seems disingenuous for all. So I ask and implore all of you to, with good conscience, please vote down this proposed master plan. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Teresa Brasino, 101 West Broadway Highway. At the last Carmel Township meeting, I heard multiple residents voice that they are not in favor of the development of this land, which rezoning to industrial would expedite and ensure. Seemingly without reservation and against all present public comment, the board passed the developer's agenda with a 3-2 vote. I have loved living here for 22 years. I moved here for quiet, peaceful, dark nights, and clean air, water, and soil. Although the current zoning does allow for retail space, which is not really ideal, I think changing the zoning to industrial stands a much greater chance of destroying everything I love about living here. I've heard the developers repeatedly talk about being a good neighbor. Good industrial neighbors don't choose a piece of land because it hasn't been polluted yet, especially when there is other industrial land within relatively close proximity that would not encroach on yet another largely pristine residential area. They also do not participate potentially in industries that are known to bring higher rates of crime. Although I would be extremely disappointed to have this zoning change move forward, if it is inevitable, I would respectfully request that you very specifically define what types of business can utilize the land, create meaningful, uncomfortable, and inescapable repercussions for any and all damage caused, and set taxes at a rate to cover any needed additional public safety officers or other mitigating things in place. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak at this time? Okay, no one else? No one else would like to speak this time. We'll close the public portion and deliberate amongst the commissioners. One thing I want to explain a little bit about this. This is our future land use map. This has nothing to do with rezoning. We're not rezoning anything. All this does is say that if at some point in time, some developer wants to do it for industrial or whatever, that it's more likely to happen in these areas. If you look at our future land use map, there's a lot of areas that have commercial in it that aren't zoned commercial, they're future land use map for commercial. Before anything could be done as far as your commercial or an industrial use, they would have to go through site plan review. That's with the Drain Commissioner, MDOT, Road Commission. So hopefully, if anything would get done commercially or industrially, that the water problems that have been so concerned about or have been spoken about so much could be addressed at that point in time, because anything that's going to be done, the Drain Commissioner would hopefully have a better idea how to handle this, and the developer would have to invest in it to make it happen. So none of this stuff is a given that it would happen, and if it does, it would have to be done in a manner to hopefully make things better out there, not worse, as far as that. So after my little speech, now we can open it up to public, or to our deliberation. Sure, Scott, please.
Yes, I live at 1275 West Broadway Highway, less than a mile from the property that is in question. And I'm totally against any future proposal for the master plan to be changed into an industrial site. It has been mentioned here about water runoff and so forth, and all the water comes down on my property, and because of failure of drainage in the past, in the last 60 years, on the Battle Creek River, and then coming up to my place, I now have land that I cannot farm anymore, and some of it has turned into a swamp. And so I'm opposed to that, any additional water runoff. And I'm also, they talked about they want to be in agriculture as far as surrounding area. When you take 180 some acres or more out of production, I don't think that is good reasoning on their part to do that for the community. And several other things that have been mentioned by the public here tonight concerning the way of life in the community that we have in that area would be diminished. The property values could go down. I can't forecast anything on that, but there is a possibility of that. It's just like somebody purchasing property at the end of a runway or something. I don't think that once they live there and find out that there's air traffic going over their heads, that they really would want to live there, and would probably sell their property and hopefully get their money back. Other things concerning other areas that are probably better appropriate for an industrial site would be to the north of Shalott towards Lansing area, which is becoming more and more commercial and industrial type atmosphere that would be more acceptable for any planning. So at this time, I would vote no on any proposed change rather than waiting years down the road to take and have a, when it comes up for a proposed change by the owners to request the area to be industrial. And as it currently is, I think the site is around 15 to 20 acres on the front part of the property and not the rear part. And so that, but the new developers want to develop that, the whole property as a proposed planning zone change for the master plan at some point in time.
Future
So,
land use.
I beg pardon?
Future land use, not zoning.
Okay, future land use. So I'm against any proposed change for the property.
I guess I'll just chime in too. I just would like to echo Brian's comments. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding here. The difference between, the zoning designation of a parcel and the proposed future land use. And so, not that I think, Scott, that you have that confusion, but I think that exists. I mean, this is not about potentially preserving farmland. This in our master plan for, decades now has been proposed as future land use for general business, right? So I would just encourage, the folks in the audience to look at our zoning ordinance. I think one of the speakers talked about specific criteria for businesses to move in there. We absolutely have that. You have a very specific set of businesses that are allowed to exist in those districts. General business allows for C1 and C2, if I'm not mistaken. That's a pretty extensive list of commercial-related businesses. So that's the proposed future land use. Again, taking into account that this is a 20-year plan for our county and looking at, areas of possible development around interchanges, things like that. So I just think it's important to have that understanding, have that backdrop. I guess, I think we heard some interesting comment. I don't know that I have a lot specific related to this specific piece. I mean, again, it is a little, there's other ways that a district change can occur specifically. So I don't know if this is, the only, or really even all that relevant to a potential project that might go in there. So this is more about thinking about how our community is going to plan for the future and plan for the growth of our county.
Chair, I have the answers for the map questions if you would like them.
Sure, please.
So Mr. Marks has been a valued addition to our zoning ordinance committee meetings, so that's where some of his knowledge comes from. He is correct. The Sunfield Township zoning map is incorrect. If a motion were to be made, the correct zoning map should be included. It is one of the properties we talked about at the zoning ordinance committee meeting that was dual zoned, had an adjustment, and for some reason became all R1 rather than the majority of limited ag. Map 12.3 on page 1212 is a composite. It is not a future land use map. In fact, the future land use plan says, prior to establishing a future land use plan for the county zoning jurisdiction, the Eaton County Planning Commission examined a generalized version of future land use across the entire county. This composite future land use analysis provides a snapshot of plans for land uses in all zoning jurisdictions. As the map shows, the overwhelming majority of the county is planned for agricultural use with a much greater density of residential commercial uses in the northeastern part of the county within cities and villages. The composite map is the end resulting of the assessing map where building permits are, things of that nature. It is not the future land use map.
We're in our closed portion of the public hearing right now. Then this is what we're doing right now, is deliberating among us. Frank, you had something?
Yeah, I was wondering, since I'm somewhat new on the map here, right now it is zoned for commercial. I was wondering if you're aware how length of time has been that zoned designation.
Future zone.
Pardon me?
So there is, one of the properties is currently zoned commercial. It's dual zoned commercial, and it's been since 1986. It was dual zoned for general business and limited ag. It has been master planned as general business C2 since 2011.
Okay. I think, as I listen here, it seems like to change the zoning, you're not opening the door, but you're unlocking it to future land use. As the residents are concerned about things, you can argue that it's not, it's only the master plan proposed future use. But in my mind, if I was a resident next door, I'd be saying that you're unlocking the door, it could be opened a lot easier, so.
Right now, we're not having public comments right now. There's been a time for that, and it's over. Okay? I've asked you nice a couple times, please. Thank you. Tim, have you got any, you've been in a lot of the meetings and stuff? Because you went to Carmel and Eaton Township.
Well, yeah, after a lot of discussion, both of those townships were in favor of changing the future land use. And I think the biggest part of the reasoning was they would rather have that industrial than they would like it commercial, because the amount of traffic that commercial would cause, the amount of interference with agriculture. They also talked about the issue of the water, especially sewer and fresh water.
That they wouldn't be required to hook up.
That they would not be required to hook up. And that was a major concern of most of the people at those meetings. So I think the townships considered it very fairly. They looked at options, and they were in favor of the change to industrial.
If I may, Eaton Township did vote to not approve it. I just wanted to clarify the record. The vote was to not approve it. Carmel Township's vote was to approve it.
I understood at the follow-up meetings that they better understood the issues of the sewer and the fresh water.
There was no follow-up meeting with the township board where a vote was made.
Okay, I was mistaken.
So did the township submit any written comment? Or just a written vote?
They just made a vote to approve or deny.
Eaton Township, when we were there, was, I don't want to classify it saying their biggest concern, but one of their major concerns, I'll say it that way, was that they were concerned that the city would require anyone on the way down there to force them to hook up to their water and sewer. And when I was at the meeting at Carmel Township, they said that was kind of opposite what they wanted to do, because it would take up capacity for what they have, and that they wouldn't require anyone to do it. It would be the option if something would happen to their drain field and their lot wasn't size enough to replace it. So that was my understanding, one of their major concerns. Not all of their concerns, but one of their major concerns. And the city of Charlotte put that to bed, really. Sure.
I guess, speaking of the capacity of the city, that begs the question, is the capacity coming from either commercial or industrial going to maximize their capacity?
The way they explained it, they had capacity. There was an agreement worked out with the townships a long time ago, and there is capacity. depending on what it is, but it would depend on what it is, commercial or industrial. They said that, you know, if you get I think, I'm trying to think, they used some examples, and if they had a heavy water sewer use in either one, they wouldn't be able to handle it. If they had a low use, I wish I remembered the examples, I don't remember, but if they had a low water sewer use, they would have plenty of capacity. It just depends on what each individual business would be. And like I said a few minutes ago, there has to go through, they have to submit site plans and all those things. So the city would have to say, hey, we have capacity, we don't. And if they don't have capacity, they would have to work out something, either I think a pre-treat system was one of the options, or help build the capacity for the city. So, I mean, they're not gonna build anything they can't do. They're gonna know about it ahead of time. It's just part of the, plan submittal and site plan review. That's how I understood it from our meetings. I know Brandy was there. Chris wasn't there. You and I were there. I think that's all that were there on the planning commission or from your office. Am I correct?
Yes.
I'm trying to give you the best I can of what they said without overstating.
Yeah, I got you.
And to follow up, as far as the capacities, it doesn't matter if it's commercial or industrial. They're going to have to come up with how they're going to handle their fresh water and their sewer either way. So what I'm saying is that whether Charlotte's going to handle it or they're going to have some sort of on-site system or something else, it really doesn't matter if it's industrial or commercial. They're going to have to come up with a way to handle it at their expense.
In a way, it sounds like you're interrupting the farmland type community for something pretty much unknown, and in my mind, thinking maybe pretty limited to somebody would come in and build their own facility or help Charlotte build more capacity. So that's it. I think Scott has something.
Yeah, I sort of would agree with that, Frank, that I know what I've heard was the city had plenty of water capacity, but as far as sewage, they're up near 93% capacity, and they would have to increase their infrastructure to do that. Also, has been mentioned that the residents along the line where it would be for hookups, that they wouldn't have to hook up to that. But what about I would assume the city would probably at that time annex that area down through there to take and do that to recover some of their tax that they would need for tax revenue to pay for the infrastructure. And also the fact that that would mean the residents along that line would become taxpayers to the city and not the township. And I think the Carmel Township was looking at the tax dollars that they could gain from an increased valuation as far as being industrial. And then along that corridor, I'm not sure Brandy would probably have that. I think around 20 or 25 acres along the front part of that property, as compared to having the whole property zoned industrial. So, like I say, and then tax base, a lot of things that.
See, that's not what we're discussing here, though. That's for a different government body to discuss. That's nothing that the townships ask us to consider, and that's not something we consider. We consider land use here. The city did not talk about annexing it. They have, I believe, 425 agreements on some of the commercial property, and they'd have to come with some agreements to be able to use the water or the property. But the tax implications are not something we're looking at here. It's totally future land use. The township didn't bring that up to us as a reason not to. So it really can't be part of our reasoning to do or not do this.
Well, you look at other counties that Clinton County.
You don't understand. It's not something we have to discuss. And I'm borderline questioning whether you should be talking on this with us or voting, seeing you boundary line this and you have strong concerns because of water runoff on your property. So I've got some concerns about conflict of interest that you've brought up. So
I'm not sure what the legality is for that, but if you think I shouldn't be voting on the thing, I'll go along with that. But I see other counties that have, it has been too late for the residents to even voice a concern, and that's why I think many of these people who are here tonight that spoke have voiced a concern for any future proposal change.
I understand. I'm just saying tax reasons are not something we consider here. That's not what the planning commission's doing. That's for different entities to be worried about that and concerned about that.
So I'll just chime in again with my own concern on this. Nobody liked my explanation of the distinction between planning and zoning. But to me, this is the big rub here for me on this issue, is that, you know, in our planning process, we have gone above and beyond for how long? A year and a half, 2 years, to solicit input from local stakeholders. So we've had this whole process. And so now I have a major issue with kind of late in the process with a change that one of our stakeholders in terms of the Eden Township is not okay with. So I guess that to me is my biggest concern, because you know, this has been a very thorough process. There's, you know, we've held all of these meetings and solicited all of this input, and so that's really where the distinction between planning and zoning is really important, because in that planning process, you reach out and you seek out all of this input from all the local entities, local businesses, local units of government, and so you know, if we have one of those that's uncomfortable with this planning process and we didn't have time to rectify that before this approval, I think that's something that, you know, will have to be, in my mind, has to be, you know, reconciled in some kind of future way, whether it's a district change or a few different planning process. But that, to me, is a major issue with this. So, a lot of technical issues here, and I agree completely that we could get into the mud on all of the nuance here, but really our goal is to plan and zone, and we have to rip those apart tonight. So we are, you know, we're working on our future planning and land use map, and I think that's an important distinction to keep in mind, and how we've, as a group, have worked on this process for quite some time, and all the steps we've taken to get here.
So, do you have are you stating what you would like to see as far as our land use, our future land use maps? I think I kind of caught something you were saying, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when we did the public meetings, we took the land use maps that had this zone, or plan, I apologize. See, I did the same thing. Planned for general business, correct?
That is correct.
So, I mean, I think that, in light of some concern from the township itself, certainly, I mean, that's always a major factor in our decisions as townships, especially in the planning process. I would be more comfortable in retaining the map that we took to all the stakeholder meetings and had all the input on, all the positive approval from that township.
I'm sorry, Lisa. Thank you.
What I've been looking at here is just the descriptions of the different planning designations, and I think as far as the use, one way or another, it could potentially open the door to it being covered in asphalt with either of the choices that we make here, whether it's the original commercial master plan or going industrial. The description that we have, though, of location criteria for the two types, general business talks about proximity to highways and primary roads. The location criteria for industrial, though, does focus on it being not only near the availability of rail, the large corridors on the freeways and major highways, and being near cities. And if we're going to change it to industrial, I think this area does lend itself to that for those reasons. I'm not necessarily advocating one way or the other. Like I say, the way I see it, commercial or industrial, they theoretically both could get covered in asphalt. So I'm not sure one is better than the other for, water, or, water runoff, or any of the other considerations that might come with industrial. But it's just something I'm sitting here looking at and thinking, it does kind of look like it would be well-suited, and there aren't a lot of places in Eaton County because of all the water here that are well-suited. So, I'm not sure which way I lean on it, honestly, but that's the consideration I'm looking at for it.
I kind of agree with what I think Ben is saying. We had as he said, we had a long process. There were a lot of chances to input, and it bothers me to have something all of a sudden come us at the last minute and want to change the land use maps, the future land use maps.
We knew that going in, that we all didn't like it, really. I mean, Sure.
Yes, I would concur with Ben's, what Ben had said about, we'd been in plans for this for quite some time, and that we were pretty much in agreement on, I think, for the zoning, the future plan use for property in that area. And I would support the commercial, like the current plan that's basically the same as what it was when it was changed back in 2011 for that area. And would like to see it remain and continue to do it for the planned proposal for the master plan for the 2024.
Extrapolating from what you said, following through with what the townships want. Carmel did make a recommendation that we change it to industrial. If we want to follow what the townships recommend, which we have done all through the process,
Yeah.
they did recommend that. And
If we were earlier in the process, I think we could reconcile some of that, right? It really is a function of where we're at in the process. I think this easily could have been reconciled if we'd been talking about this 6 months ago, and we have been. And so, I don't think it's fair to, if it was unanimous among the local units of government, I think I would have a lot less problem with this. But since there's ambiguity, I think it does create a problem.
Brandy was correct. At the Eaton Township meeting, they were against it. So the townships and their votes are split.
It won't be that long, we'll be doing this again anyway, right?
Probably looking at the ECA.
It'll be 20 years we'll be planning again anyway, but. So in terms of a motion, what is needed? Then the motion needs to say that,
We are accepting we're recommending the master plan go with minor grammatical changes with the maps that are currently in it, or we're accepting it with the minor grammatical changes with the new maps or new map if we wanted to go with one township or the other.
You're accepting the draft master plan as written and in front of you with the updated Sunfield Township zoning map, and then choose either the commercial for Carmel and Eaton or the industrial for Carmel or Eaton.
So does that mean there's two votes as far as what we're requesting, as far as what we get to choose for, based on Eaton Township and Carmel Township?
The document in front of you is updated with the changes that I read into record. It's completely updated. It includes the Carmel and Eaton Township future land use as commercial as it's been since 2011. So if you choose to accept the document that is in front of you, that is fine. You don't need to make the different classification. But if you could please request that we replace the Sunfield Township existing zoning map.
So no, we don't need to make two motions.
unless one fails.
Right. Thank you.
Then I will make a motion that we accept the planning, master plan document as written with the minor corrections due to grammar and Brandy, say that again?
The Sunfield.
With minor
Correct
corrections.
Sunfield Township zoning map.
And with the corrected Sunfield Township zoning map. So the master plan as written, with the minor grammatical corrections, and with the Sunfield Township map replaced.
Okay, we have a motion and support. You good with the wording?
Support.
We have a motion support.
I need some clarity on if we're doing, this is including the industrial, or?
No, this is not. This is including the maps like they were when we sent them to the Board of Commissioners to review it. Any further discussions or clarification? Okay, so if not, I'll ask for a roll call vote, and this is accepting the master plan the way it was, what, 100 days ago, 75 days ago?
I still need a little more clarity, I'm sorry, I just.
It is a
really-
document that is sitting in front of you in the binder. That document.
What are the?
It's not the loose map.
It's not the loose maps.
Those loose maps are the ones that show the future land use classification as industrial.
That's what I thought, I just wanted to be very clear.
Okay.
They're an alternate to one maps in the binder now. Everybody else, are you good on it?
Yeah, I'm
No?
very good, no.
Everybody know what we're voting on then? Okay, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Scott Hansen,
Yes.
Ben Terrell,
Yes.
Lisa Lewitsky,
Yes.
Ray Whitaker,
No.
Ed Kemp,
Yes.
Tim Catron,
Yes?
Zachary Dillinger,
Yes.
Frank Holmes,
Yes.
Brian Ross.
No. Okay.
So the draft master plan has been approved to be sent on to the Public Works and Planning and Board of Commissioners with the future land use classification of the property located to the north of the I-69 interchange as general business, which is what it has been master planned since 2011.
Now that the public hearing is over, is there anyone that would like to have public comments now? Go ahead, Drew. Mr. Marks.
Yes. I do like the fact that someone has a nickel in the game. Because I'm hoping everybody on this committee lives in townships in this county that are affected by this master plan. Because we have 15 commissioners, if I'm not mistaken. 5 of them represent, I believe, what this master plan is presenting. 5 of them. But the other 10 are going to vote on it. So they don't have a nickel in the game. Best I know, Delta Charter Township, just looked on my phone, they've got a 20-year comprehensive plan. I'm sure, I don't think, again, I'm trying to come up to speed here. I believe they have their own master plan as a charter township. So what we're doing here is really affecting the people that live in the outlying areas. And that's why there's a little bit of talk here. But we're going to send this on to the commissioners. 10 of them don't have any skin in the game. Not any skin in the game. But they're going to vote on this. And who knows? But I like the fact this man has some skin in the game and he's got something to say about it.
Yeah, you could just wait. No, you're fine. You were both getting up at the same time.
All right. I'm trying to understand this, so perhaps you can clarify this for me. In the master plan, 2 sections, one is on page 1, 2. It says the master plan is an official Eaton County document that sets forth policies for the future of the community. The purpose of the master plan is to identify a clear and compelling vision through a comprehensive set of goals and actions. So from the aspect of saying that, this is not a situation where you're looking at possibly changing the zoning, yes, you're definitely opening the door, are you not? And wouldn't it be difficult if your future plan said that that area was designated for industry to tell somebody or tell a future property owner that you couldn't change that zoning to industrial after they put forth a lot of effort and money to do so? Secondly, in another part of your master plan, page 1.4, it says, master plan serves as the legal basis for the county's zoning ordinance. It is one of the primary resources the County Planning Commission must reference when considering changes to the zoning ordinance or zoning map. That also to me would indicate that, indicating that that property was future planned for industrial would cause some difficulties down the road if somebody tried to change that zoning. So am I misunderstanding the document or misreading that?
Really something that this isn't something that we really talk back and forth in here.
Okay.
Our zoning ordinances here, so we can plan for things. If you drive up to Ionia County, business, home, business, home.
Right.
That's what our zoning ordinance is trying to help not happen. So the zoning ordinance is made to direct where you want commercial, industrial, ag land. That's what the future land use is for. You may not agree with commercial going there or industrial going there, but the county as a whole and the townships have directed us to have commercial or industrial generally around the corridors. That's where they want that. okay?
Definitely
So
understand.
by us zoning, it makes areas where you want stuff to happen if it's gonna happen.
Correct.
Because we do not want it to look like Ionia County, where you have a business next to a residence, like that.
I guess
So
my
that's,
real question and comment was that, as you indicated earlier, this is not a change in the zoning, I understand that.
is not.
But it is definitely, would you not say, opening the door that would be very difficult to close once that land is designated for future purposes as industrial?
I'm sure people say that about the commercial that's out there too.
Thank you.
That's been like that for 20-some years.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Brian, didn't we voted this was staying commercial, correct?
Yeah,
Okay. This one.
so a commercial can do by right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, first of all, I'm shocked that you can do this planning and not consider water runoff, utilities, and property taxes. How do you plan and exclude those parts that are a very big part of the puzzle of future planning? I don't understand that. I never knew you did that. Now, to the vice chair's point, I just found out about this. My property is diagonally adjacent to the Eaton Township parcel that was proposed to go industrial, and I just found out about this a couple weeks ago. I never got a letter or anything. As far as Carmel Township goes and their vote for it, I intend to change that because they never asked me either. And there's none of those people that live adjacent to this proposed property. So I just wanted to clarify that for you two, that I was never invited to a meeting. I was never informed about this until a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
I'd like to talk to Ms. Miller afterwards. She can tell you all the times that it's been in the papers, that we've advertised it, it's been online, it's been
As an
done at the
adjacent property
townships.
owner, couldn't I get a letter or a notice or something?
We're not no zoning was meant to change.
Okay, but
Nothing was meant to change. It's just future land use. We don't change the zoning, it's future
I
land
just like to
use.
see you guys
But I'm
pay
getting into-
attention to drainage and utilities and property taxes and
Right.
your land use plan.
Anybody wants to talk now, just talk for a minute. Go ahead, sir, if you'd like. I'd like you to go up to the podium, please.
I'm Thomas Jones. I live at 3155 South Cochran Avenue. I'm the only one that lives in that Eaton Township section. The house right across the street from the veterinarian, basically, there on the hill. I have a question. I think that may be out of place, I'm not sure, but I'd like to direct this to the developer if I could, because we're talking a future land use. We're not talking next year or the year after. We're talking a number of years down the road, the way I assume that we're speaking. Am I correct? My question to Mr. Young, was it? Okay, I know Dick Swem is the gentleman that bought the property. So my question to you is, what is his projection of the future of how far down the road is he looking to try to develop this property? Is he looking at a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, or a 10-year plan? I mean, you don't understand what I'm trying to say? So I mean, is he trying to get the ball rolling so that he can do it as fast and as immediately as he can? Or is this something that we're gonna look at 10 years down the road, or 20 years, or are we only looking at maybe 3 or 4 years? That's the question I'd like to ask. I mean,
If you're comfortable answering it, that's
because
fine.
I know you
If not,
represent Dick, I know
I'm-
that you know, Dick called me and stuff after we had our conversation there at Carmel Township. And so, I guess that's the question I'm just asking is, because we're looking at future development, not immediate development.
Ask him after the meeting.
Yeah.
Because it's really not pertinent to
That's
us.
why I said, it's really not, that's why I said my question may be out of place, because it's really not to you gentlemen and ladies as far as the zoning thing goes, but it is for future land use, and so we as property owners that's in the area, are we looking at maybe just 2 years down the road where all of a sudden we gotta get our Ps and Qs in a row? Or are we looking at maybe 10, 15 years down the road to where maybe a guy like me that's 72, it ain't gonna matter anyway, because I probably won't be around? You follow what I'm trying to say? So, that's what I was just asking you, Mr. Young. Yeah, I mean,
I'm happy to stay after and answer any questions formally, or
Why don't you do it afterwards, if that's okay? Is there anyone else that'd like to speak during public comments? Okay, seeing none, the agenda is complete. We are adjourned.